Have you ever noticed how the people who are liked the most are usually the ones with the least control? Think about it for a second. They're careful. They're agreeable. They're always reading the room, and somehow they're always the ones adjusting. Most people are taught that being liked is power, that approval opens doors, that if people like you, life becomes easier. Psychologically, that sounds right, but in reality, it's backwards, because the moment being liked becomes your priority, you stop negotiating from strength. You start negotiating from fear. Here's what that looks like in real life. You soften your opinions before anyone challenges them. You explain yourself too much. You anticipate discomfort and remove it before it appears. Not because you're wrong, but because you don't want tension. And every time you do that, something subtle happens. You tell the other person, without saying a word, that their comfort matters more than your position. Your brain doesn't experience this as strategy. It experiences it as safety. We are wired for belonging. Rejection once meant isolation. Isolation once meant death. So your nervous system pushes you toward approval like it's oxygen. But here's the uncomfortable truth. In modern social dynamics, the person who needs approval the most is the person with the least leverage. People don't consciously exploit this. They sense it. Humans are incredibly good at detecting hesitation, micro pauses, over-explaining, that subtle energy of please don't push back on me. And when they feel it, the dynamic shifts. You become flexible. They become firm, not because they're stronger, but because you made yourself smaller. Think about the relationships that drained you the most, the friendships where you were always the understanding one, the one who let things slide, the one who didn't want to make it awkward. That wasn't kindness. That was avoidance. Avoidance of tension, avoidance of loss, avoidance of the possibility that being honest might cost you something. Here's the part most people never realize. When you avoid tension, you don't create peace. You create ambiguity. And ambiguity always benefits the person who wants more from you, because without boundaries, people don't know where you stand. And what people can't locate, they don't respect. This is why silence is so uncomfortable. Silence doesn't reassure. It doesn't perform. It doesn't explain. Silence forces the other person to sit with uncertainty. And uncertainty is power, not loud power, not aggressive power, psychological power. When you stop rushing to be liked, you stop giving away information. You stop telling people how to handle you, and suddenly they start revealing themselves. Who pushes? Who waits? Who only valued you when you were easy? Now here's the spike. Pay attention. Being liked doesn't make you influential. It makes you predictable. Predictable people are safe, and safe people are managed. That's why the most respected individuals are rarely universally liked. They're consistent, they're clear, they're willing to let friction exist. They don't trade truth for harmony. They understand something most people don't. Approval is borrowed confidence. Boundaries are owned confidence. One depends on how others feel. The other depends on what you're willing to tolerate, and the brain knows the difference. When you chase approval, your nervous system stays externally regulated. Every reaction matters. Every expression is data. That's exhausting. When you stop chasing approval, something internal stabilizes. You don't feel louder, you feel heavier. Your words carry more weight because you're no longer using them to protect yourself. Now, let's get honest. Some people will like you less when you stop bending. That's not a flaw in the process. That's the process working. Because what you lose is not connection, it's access. Access to your time, your energy, your emotional labor. And what stays is respect, not admiration, not praise, respect. conflict, the kind that doesn't require you to explain yourself every time you say no, the kind that survives disagreement. Here's where it gets quiet. If this is hitting close to home, it doesn't mean you were weak. It means you were optimized for survival in a system that rewards compliance. That instinct probably helped you once. It kept you safe. It kept you included. But there comes a point where it starts costing more than it gives. And the cost is you. Your clarity, your edge, your ability to sit comfortably in your own position. The shift isn't becoming colder. It's becoming more precise. Less performance, more presence, less explaining, more silence, because the strongest negotiation position isn't being liked. It's being willing to be misunderstood. And once you experience that, you don't go back. If this reframed something for you, sit with it. Notice where in your life you've been negotiating against yourself. And if you want to keep exploring these uncomfortable truths, you know where to find me.